What is going on, everybody? My name is Conor Lawler. Welcome back to the very special Christmas and festive episode of Hero or Zero.
Rolls off the tongue.
It's here. It's Here's for Hire podcast. I am joined as always by my festive pal, Mr. Shaun Mean. Shaun, how's it going?
Ho ho hello, Conor and listeners. I'm good.
I don't like this new guy.
I'm full of festive cheer.
It is very close. It's coming up.
Yeah.
And what we want everyone to know straight off the bat is there won't be a Movie Mondays or a Weird News or a Hero or Zero next week.
Because we've had a falling out.
We're planning on having a falling out, maybe on the 25th. So at the minute we're good, but Shaun could say anything at any given point.
It's all touch and go from here on.
We're taking a week off in that weird point between Christmas and New Year's, and then we're coming back for New Year's with all the same episodes 3 times a week. You know how it is. And we have our top 10 weird news stories coming up first week of January. So if you have any weird news stories that you'd like to get thrown into the hat to get voted on, please send them our way. Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. But Shaun, it is Hero or Zero, and it is my week. And yes, this is the show where we choose one comic book character every single week. We talk their good points and their bad points, and we generally just give you a bit of a rundown of everything to do with that character. Now, I always talk DC characters, and you always talk Marvel characters.
This is true.
However, I did Christmas week last week as well, and the year before, I'm pretty sure. Because
true, and I kind of stacked the deck because I did 2 Marvel ones in a row.
Yes.
Just now.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. But
so what's happened is I got stuck again with Christmas week because there's only one Santa Claus and I covered him 2 years ago. And Santa is actually a character in DC.
Yeah, but like he's, there's evil Santa maybe?
No, there's no evil Santa. So what I've done is, Shaun, what we're going to do is a character we did at the very start that the episode no longer exists, but it's festive. Because I'm doing Mr. Freeze. Yes.
Very
Christmas.
Good. Very good, Conor. Snow and such.
It's close enough. I also did Lobo, I'm pretty sure, who obviously fought Santa to a standstill 1 year.
That was a bit of a weirder one. Mr. Freeze seems more straight down the line.
Yeah, so Mr. Freeze, who obviously he was created by Mr. Bob Kane. I'm going to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sheldon Moldoff and Dave Wood. So he was created by Sheldon Moldoff and Dave Wood, just to be clear.
Bob Kane said, maybe a lad has ice powers?
Lads, go off for the weekend. I'll take the credit. Don't worry about it. So Mr. Freeze is one of those really, really interesting characters. Someone that I would say I know a bit more about, just because obviously it's in the Batman world, which is kind of my love. But it's also Batman the Animated Series world, which is something I know a lot about as well.
That is your jam.
It's my jam. It's the only show I watched for like a good 5 or 6 years. And so what Mr. Freeze, why he's interesting is that previous to the 1990s, before the animated series, Mr. Freeze's origin story is absolutely nothing. He's just a man who likes ice, and he's got a gun that creates ice, and he says a lot of ice puns.
So, in a way, it's kind of the most accurate Mr. Freeze. I've only seen Batman and Robin, by the way.
It's my only reference to the character. Is that going to hinder this?
All I know.
But what happened then in the 1990s is that, obviously, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, they had Batman the Animated Series. And what happened was they decided that they were going to reinvent Mr. Freeze. They thought Mr. Freeze was a cool character, but wasn't really given any sort of character or backstory whatsoever. So this report that I'm going to do on Mr. Freeze is like a combination of what we've learned since, so what they retroactively added to the comic books after the show, and then what the show covers as well. So 2 of my favourite episodes of the Batman animated universe will be covered here as well. One from Batman the Animated Series, Heart of Ice, and the other one from Batman Beyond, which I think are both excellent Mr. Freeze episodes.
Yes, I think I've seen both of them. And
yeah, I might also touch on the movie Sub-Zero, because that's an actual movie from the animated show that was released, like after Mask of the Phantasm.
Sick, okay.
Yeah. So what happened was that Mr. Freeze, his initial creation, obviously, he appears in 1959, February 1959, Batman 121, and while Batman the Animated Series, it was known for revising minor Batman villains, none were as effective as Mr. Freeze, who was introduced as in the comics as basically just an adversary for Batman, with little depth or detail as to how he got there, what happened to him, or why he likes ice.
Just showed up one day, started freezing bits.
They had Firefly, who set fire to things, and they had Mr. Freeze, who froze things. They were just kind of coming up with shit at that point. And he was completely transformed. And he's actually much like Batman in a weird way, because he's got a cold demeanour, but he's also got like a ferocity if you anger him. Like,
yeah. I think of Mr. Freeze a lot like Walter White. Whereas like he's a man driven to the edge, and he just becomes ruthless.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting way to look at. So when the animated series got hold of him, they just recreated him in a whole episode called Heart of Ice. And the episode itself is the very first episode written by the great Paul Dini, and also the very first episode that Bruce Timm himself directed. So they had the double act of the two of them, one writing, one directing.
And it's the very first one that they did.
Yeah, together,
That's
as like
insane.
a duo.
Yeah. That's mad.
It's also the very first episode that Bruce Timm directed in the series.
This is like when Jim Henson's son directed Muppets Christmas Carol as his first outing. And it's like, how do you knock it out of the park this well?
I mean, it's like they're both, like, every episode that has Paul Dini writing and every episode that has Bruce Timm directing are all great, but then they decided to put the all-stars together in like an all-star team to be like, do the Mr. Freeze episode, let's see what happens. And this was the one that won the Emmy. They put this forward and it won an Emmy in 1993.
And like went on to like define the character of Mr. Freeze pretty much.
And it basically retroactively changed everything about the character in comic books and every form of media. Just their creation.
So powerful.
Similar to Harley Quinn. This was also, very weird fact, Mark Hamill's first day at Batman the Animated Series, because he was doing the voice of the owner of the corporation. So he came in and he was doing the voice of Ferris Boyle, who ran Gothcorp, who had the lab that Victor Freeze was working in. And he came onto the show, he did the voice for Ferris Boyle, and while he was in the studio, he came out and he just looked at Bruce Timm and he said, you know, if you have any other characters, I'd love to do them. Like, I'd love to be involved in this show. The show looks really good. Yeah. And Tim Curry had just been let go as Joker because they were like looking for a Joker. So they said, why don't you come in and just try out for a Joker? And that's how Mark Hamill became the Joker. And
again, went on to define the voice of the Joker, basically.
It's just complete coincidence. Like, everything just comes together perfectly.
It's mad how much of that show, like, that went on to become iconic was just like, we'll try this. Yeah. And it just worked so well.
And you just have really talented people doing stuff. So as a child, Victor Freeze, he's also named Victor Freeze, but it's spelled Fries. Let's just get on with it. That's just his name.
Okay. It's German or something?
I think it's because, like, in the comic books, originally they didn't care. So they were like, his name's Victor Fries. Or Victor Freeze, and he's called Mr. Freeze, and he likes freezing things. So they didn't really care. So when Dini and Tim came on board, they just kept the name. And so that's why the name stuck around. So Victor Freeze was fascinated by freezing animals as a hobby he developed to escape the pressures of his brutal control freak father. His parents, horrified by his hobby, sent him to a strict boarding school where he was absolutely miserable, feeling detached from humanity. His parents, by the way, bastards, constantly in the comic books. Terrible people.
Dirty people, like just miserable.
Yeah. So that winter, when the other children went home for the holidays, Shaun, Victor discovered that his parents had disowned him while he was at the school. So they no longer wanted to be his parents.
Fucking hell.
Yes. And left him there.
You can't just... I mean, I guess you can decide it, but like, Jesus, give him a chance.
He was thought of as an embarrassment to the family, a mistake to be filed away and forgotten, and he never saw his parents ever again. But Victor, though, he was incredibly intelligent, really, really smart. And obviously that was so horrific, but it meant that he just kind of put all of his effort into his studies while he was there. And so he became an all-A student, and he was just a genius in terms of, and just became a scientist. And so in college, he felt that he may never feel like the warmth of any human connection. He just kind of was like, I'm by myself.
The warmth, life. You say, Connor.
The warmth. But what I meant, like, he realised, like, nobody's going to love me. Like, my own parents didn't even love me, so, like, why would anyone ever want to love me? So he's, like, just sticking to himself. But then, Shaun, he met Nora. A beautiful athlete with whom he fell deeply in love with and ultimately married, and they were completely happy together, Shaun. They loved each other, best friends.
And that's where the report ends.
That's where the report ends. This is what we call a Bambi version of the report.
Well, Christmas, everyone needs a happy story at Christmas.
It's a happy time for us all. He later even got a job teaching cryogenics at the local college. That's how smart he is.
Okay, so he's got success. He's found love. He's got a great job, successful, like probably a good like little house that he can go back to.
And he's found a woman that loves him for him, and he loves her, and they just get on like they're best friends. Nora, unfortunately, she became sick. She became very, very, very sick. So sick, in fact, she was terminally ill with a rare cancer.
No.
And this just happened while he was just incredibly happy in his life. He immediately left teaching and he took on a job working for a large drug company called Gottcorp, run by the ruthless Ferris Boyle, voiced by Mark Hamill in the show, so he could find a cure. So he leaves his job just to join this drug company, just to find a cure for his wife. That's it.
That's it's just pure love, because he's just like, she's all I have.
Yeah, and so he's willing to do anything to fix her. And so using his great intellect and a passion for cryogenics, Freeze discovered a way to put Nora into cryostasis using the company equipment, hoping to sustain her until a cure could be found. So the idea is she's dying very, very soon. If I can freeze her, then I can find a cure and then take her out, and then we can be together. However, Ferris Boyle found out about the experiment and he cancelled the funding for the whole operation. Right? Because
Freeze won't be happy with that.
So Freeze continued with the project, leaving Boyle in huge debt, even after he got told not to do it. Boyle attempted to have Nora brought out of the stasis and overruled Freeze's frantic objections, like, you can't take her out, like, she'll die.
Yeah, because it's done now. Is the thing.
During which a struggle ensued. As a result, Freeze became engulfed in his own cryogenic coolants, and was left for dead. So they basically beat the shit out of him. Then he became covered in his own cryogenic coolants, and they just left him for dead.
But also, we've said it before, it's the best origin that can ever be told.
Things fall on you.
You're just covered in something.
Just covered in weird fucking liquid, man. Nobody knows what it is, but it's science.
It's antifreeze. Why not? That's my power now.
It's in a Bunsen burner around the place. Yeah. What can you do? Freeze survived, but the chemicals had altered his body chemistry, and his body temperature was lowered dramatically. He could now only survive at sub-zero temperatures. He escaped and unnoticed with the frozen Nora. So they just beat the shit out of him, ruined his fucking lab, and then left. And then he snuck out with his now frozen wife and him and his now weird fucking body that has like been altered.
Just has to be cold now.
Yeah. So Freeze endured, but his physiology was permanently altered. His body no longer could survive on temperatures above 0 degrees Celsius. And so he became Mr. Freeze. He built a cryosuit that kept his body at low temperatures and also tripled his normal strength. He also built a freeze gun to start a criminal campaign against specifically Gottcorp and Mr. Ferris Boyle.
So it's personal. It's not like he's just attacking, like, I'm going to rob this bank for no reason.
To be honest, it's basically Batman. Every origin story is like, his origin story is Batman. Something terrible happens to him.
Yeah.
And his thing is, he's out to make sure it never happens to anyone and to get revenge for what happened to him.
But Batman is a hero.
Yeah.
And he's the villain.
Because he goes too far, which is always a great villain story. That like, they can be on the same wavelength, but he always goes a step further than Batman ever would.
Yeah, Batman has a line that he won't cross.
Yeah. And so he's immediately just against Gothcorp and Boyle. So Mr. Freeze gets himself a gang of henchmen and he makes numerous break-ins at Gothcorp, thieving the parts for a freezing mechanism he needed to build and use in his fight against them. So he's just stealing bits from the fucking lab now. This led to his first clash with Batman. Obviously, Batman is brought in by Mr. Ferris and he's just like, somebody's stealing all of our stuff.
We need help.
And so Batman just encounters Mr. Freeze and like, you can't do that. He's like, get out of my way. So that's where their first encounter comes together.
Right.
And Mr. Freeze basically defeats him with no trouble and traps him in a block of ice. Just like, get out of my way. Like, this isn't about you. I got no ill will towards you, Batman. Yeah. I'm just here for the stuff.
Yeah, I'm not here because I'm, a criminal trying to get rich. I just want to save my wife.
Yeah. That's literally it. And so, like, Freeze traps Batman and he leaves him to confront Boyle at the Gothcorp humanitarian party, where he throws Boyle to the waist. Batman obviously escapes the ice block and he challenges Freeze at the party, fighting him one-on-one until he breaks Freeze's helmet. Freeze is defeated and he's detained along with Boyle, because Batman's like, Boyle's also a fucking bad egg. Batman presents evidence of Boyle's crimes as well to the police and the press. And Victor Freeze was incarcerated in a special cell in Arkham Asylum. But the gift that he's given is a ballerina. That the very famous scene is him in the cell and the snow outside, and he pulls out the ballerina and it looks like Nora, and she's just dancing in a slow circle.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Like,
yeah. Because he's a good man, but like, he's just trying to keep his wife alive.
Yeah, this is where I get the like Walter White Heisenberg thing. Heisenberg's a little more shady, but you get what I'm saying. That it's
no, and I mean, I think like that episode that obviously won an Emmy. It's an incredible episode, an incredible idea to do with a villain that nobody had ever thought of before, and to see it on that show it's an episode done so well that it's actually like unfair that people are like, oh, that's a kid's show. Because like that episode is just, it's just perfect, start to finish. Introduction of a weird character, you're like, this guy is not much about him. Then you find out his backstory, and then at the end he's just like, I did it all for you. Like, that's all I'm doing, just trying to keep my wife alive.
Yeah, like, and it doesn't dumb it down. Like, it's a serious thing, and it treats it that the audience.
Yeah, he's like, she's the only person that's ever loved me. Like, I have to keep her alive. If she dies, I've got nobody.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you do the same thing? Like,
yeah.
And like, that's the thing that he makes. Like, Batman is like, in comics and stuff. Like, from what I've read, Batman a lot of the time, and especially like the Arkham games, he's like, no, Freeze is just, he's sick. Like, he just needs help. He's not a bad man.
And Mr. Freeze many times has sided with Batman in multiple things. Like, if Batman's like, Victor, this is going to fuck with Gotham. Like, Gotham's going to be destroyed. And Victor's like, well, I don't really care about that. But then if Batman says, yeah, but Nora's lab is in Gotham. Yeah. And if that falls down, then we're all fucked. And then Victor's like, I'm in. What do we need to do?
Say no more, Chief.
Say no more, Chief. I'm in. And so there's also an episode where Freeze is later broken out of jail against his will by a man called Grant Walker, who was captivated by Freeze and his extended lifespan as a result of the accident. So Walker's now like, I want what you have. Like, right. I want that. You have this extended lifespan. Walker requested Freeze to replicate the accident on him and grant him an extended lifespan so that he can achieve his plan of freezing the whole world and then basically being king of the world, of all the frozen inhabitants.
Right. That's like the maniacal Mr. Freeze thing. That he's, like, you know... that.
But it's Walker.
Yeah, but he's coming to Mr. Freeze for help with this.
Yeah, Freeze declines at first. He's like, no, that's a terrible idea. But then he learns that Walker had actually saved Nora and kept her cryogenically preserved while he was in jail. And so at this point, he's like, okay, I'll help. Okay, fine. And he was granted Free's unique physiology, but thanks to Batman and Robin's interference with Walker's plans, Freeze understood the mistake he had made, and he actually assisted Batman and Robin in then stopping Walker's plan. Because he was like, I was just doing it because he saved Nora. That's kind of it.
I'm not siding with him. I don't want to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But he saved my wife, so...
Yeah. And so then so Batman and Robin turn up and Batman's like, dude, you're better than this. And he's like, you're actually right, fair enough. I'll help you stop him.
Actually, thanks for that.
After restraining Walker to a wall with his ice gun, Freeze then proceeded to overload the power core, blowing the city to pieces and cautioning the occupants to escape for their lives. So basically he's like, everyone get out of here, this place is going to blow. Come on. As everyone evacuated the city, Freeze chose to stay behind and die with his wife, who was still there. He's just like, I'm not leaving if she's here.
Like we're gonna. If she's gonna die, I'm dying with her because I don't want to live without her.
Walker, Nora, and Freeze disappeared in the explosion, but they survived entombed in icebergs. So his grand plan is he just entombs them all in icebergs, him and Nora. And it's just like, okay, let's just
figure that out later.
We'll figure it out later, and we're here now. And this is where we come into the movie Sub-Zero, which, if you've seen it, it starts in the Arctic, where Freeze has now settled. He's literally moved everything to the Arctic to get away from everyone and just save his wife. He has no issue. He's got no beef. He doesn't want nothing.
Just leave me alone and let me work.
Yeah. He's accompanied only by his frozen wife and a little boy. And 2 polar bears as well that he adopted in the movie. The movie's okay, but Freeze is always good. Any story with Freeze has always got a bit of heart to it. So an expedition submarine comprised the integrity of Freeze's cave, initiating ice to smash open Nora's capsule. Furious by the oblivious... so there's like an expedition upstairs and they start smashing into the ice, and they accidentally smash open Nora's capsule that he's keeping her in with the fucking device. And so he's just in the Arctic minding his business and they've just harmed the capsule Nora's in. So you can imagine he's taking that well.
He's a very balanced response, I would say, is what he's going to give.
Furious at this blunder, Victor freezes and kills all of the men in the expedition to be like, how dare you come near me? He then goes back to Gotham City and solicits the assistance of a former co-worker and doctor, Gregory Belson. Belson basically informs Freeze that Nora's condition requires a major organ transplant. Like, she's not going to get better unless you have an organ transplant. And what the plot of the movie is, the only person that matches her is Barbara Gordon, who is Batgirl.
Right. Jesus.
And so that's how Batgirl,
I've not
Robin...
seen this movie, by the way. This is fucked.
So Batman, Batgirl and Robin all get involved because Freeze is now... He kidnaps Barbara Gordon and he takes her back to the Arctic and is like, I'm going to take bits of your insides and put them in Nora and then she's going to be healthy. I don't really care what happens to you, to be honest.
Is it a thing that, like, he's come so far at this point that, like, if this is the last step, he's fine with taking it? Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's like, I'll do anything. I don't care. And so the procedures takes place on an abandoned oil rig, which is how the movie... That's where he's stationed in the movie. He goes to an abandoned oil rig in the middle of nowhere in the ocean. Batman and Robin obviously eventually find the base, they intervene, and the subsequent brawl sets the rig on fire, which is obviously covered in oil and shit, right? So the place is going up in flames. Belson abandons Freeze, only to meet his own death. He leaps out, he's like, you're on your own, and he dies immediately. Freeze suffers a broken leg and insists that he obviously can't leave with his broken leg. Batman's like trying to save him, but he's like, save Nora and the boy. Save Nora and the boy. Jesus.
Like, he's like, I don't care about me. Just let me die. Just save the two of them. Batman saves them, and Barbara, who's obviously now Batgirl, she goes back to help Freeze, even though he was going to kill her, because she's like, I can't let him die. Like, he's still a man.
That would be the same as killing him. Is letting
exactly.
him die.
So she's like, I got to go back and help him. Freeze, however, she went back to save Freeze. However, the rig structure was compromised by the surrounding fire and blast, and Freeze fell into the sea beneath so he just basically fell into the sea.
Right, the cold Arctic Sea, basically.
Yeah. And you think he's dead, but obviously obviously he's Mr. Freeze, so he's not. And the movie ends where he's in the Arctic walking with a crutch and a cast on his foot, and he's gazing into a scientific outpost where there's like a little scientific outpost with like all the scientists inside, and there's a TV on, and he catches a news bulletin on the TV hearing that Nora made a full recovery with the assistance of Wayne Enterprises. And content, with tears in his eyes, Freeze limps away into the snowstorm because he knows that he knows that she's saved. He knows that she's alive, and he's completely content.
And he's like, I'm done now. I can die happy.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Like he was just he reaches there. He sees on the TV Wayne Enterprises actually saves her, and he's like, oh my god, she's safe. She's healthy. I've completed it. Like, that's all I wanted. That's literally all I wanted.
That's really sweet. Does that stay though, like in canon, that Nora is just back now?
That is canon, and how we know that's well, in the animated show that's canon.
Yeah.
And in the animated universe. And I've kind of just taken it from there because I feel like Mr. Freeze is cool in those episodes, and that's like his most interesting story arc. So the next one is called Meltdown. It's a Batman and Beyond episode, and it's the last time we ever see Mr. Freeze, and it depicts the return of Mr. Freeze. Obviously this is like 40 years down the line, and so it happens when Derek Powers, who's the bad guy, he's like the, have you seen the nuclear, he's like green?
Yes, I have seen this dude.
And so he decides that he basically gets infected with like nuclear power. He's slowly just dying, like his body is crumbling from the inside out. And he's known as Bright. And his idea is that he's going to just decide to move his body, or move his consciousness to a new body, and get rid of the original one. They're going to clone his body and just move him in there. Yeah. And that's how he's going to save himself and no longer be this fucking freak with these superpowers. However, the procedure is first tested on a man who's still alive, kept alive by his suit, Mr. Freeze. Okay. And he's been kept in like status, like in a lab somewhere, and he's just a head, to be honest, at this point. Yeah. So like I don't think he even has a body at this point. They're just keeping him in like the Futurama tubs.
Like the heads in jars, like the celebrity heads. Yeah,
the heads in jars, yeah. And at first it seems like the procedure has worked, and Mr. Freeze, he gets a new body, and they're like, you're safe, you're free to go. Like, that's it. Like, you get to be whoever you want to be. And he's just a regular man. He's not blue anymore, he's just this regular human being.
He can just exist in the world.
And he's now obviously in like 2040 something, so it's a bit weird, but he's like, I can make it work. It's fine. And he then, like, once I was going to say Mr. Bruce Wayne. Once Bruce finds out, he's immediately like, to Terry, who's Batman Beyond, he's like, track him. I want you to track everything he does. I want you to just tail him.
This guy.
This dude's a fucking bad man, right? He's going to be up to something. The doctor who does it is called Stephanie Lake, and Stephanie is really, really nice to Freeze, and she's like really kind, and he thinks she's just his friend, and he then is just able to feel the heat and the cold like a normal person. The first thing he says, oh my god, that's so cold. He walks outside and he can see his breath and he feels cold, and he just starts smiling to himself. It's like,
I haven't felt cold in decades.
Haven't felt cold or heat. I've just felt nothing for so long that now I just feel things. And so he goes about his things seem okay, and Terry follows him around, and Terry's like, he just seems like a nice man. Like, he seems like a decent enough guy. I can't find anything. There's one moment where he's at a graveyard, and it's Nora's grave, and he goes there and he like lays a flower down. He's like, I'm so sorry. She like remarried someone and she went off.
She went and had a life after
she went and had a life, and he's so happy like that she did that, and he lays a flower down, and he's just like, I loved you so much. And somebody shows up with a gun and tries to kill him, and Terry stops the attack, but the man cries out that the monster's gotta die, as Mr. Freeze had previously killed this man's whole family in an attack, and now he seeks revenge. And obviously Freeze is like, I'm really sorry, like that's I can't do anything to repay you, like honestly I'm a terrible person, I'm sorry about all the things that I've done. And he decides that he's done enough damage to the man, and he sets him free. Basically he says to Batman, just let him go. Just the man is just, because Batman's like, do you want me to bring him to the police? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. Like it's I've done enough to him. He
feels remorse, like
and he vows to make amends. And so he then announced that he's starting an organisation called the Nora Freeze Foundation, so that he can help people that he once hurt in the years past.
So he's properly trying to make amends.
So he makes a foundation to be like, if I've hurt you in any way, we're going to raise money and I'm going to help you in whatever way I did you harm. I'm going to try my best to set it right. But after the announcement, Shaun, he started to notice he's feeling a bit hot, right? And so he leaves the studio. Maybe it's the studio lights. Then he starts to get even more uncomfortable. However, it soon starts snowing, and he immediately feels better, proving that he's starting to revert back to his previous condition.
Whatever made him the way he was, it's still in his system somehow.
So the experiment has not been successful at cloning the body, and he got a few days of normal, and now the body's starting to reject the procedure. And so he goes back to the lab, and he's like, this is fucked. Like, Stephanie, how are you gonna help me? And she immediately then throws him into a cell and turns the heat up full, and is just like, oh, you're just a failed experiment. We tried to do it for Derek Powers, but we're just gonna kill you now. So it didn't really work. Sorry.
If it worked, great, but if not, it's fine.
He's then trapped in the cell, and she just keeps turning the temperature up to the highest it can go, and he's just sweating. Yeah.
Fuck.
Just killing him. And so he eventually breaks out, and Derek Powers is there. He's going pure evil, he's all fucking using his nuclear power to destroy things. Freeze puts on the old Freeze suit.
Hell, one more time.
He's like, this is your fucking fault, Derek Powers. You gave me hope, which is the worst thing you could have given me. Just let me die. Why did you have to bring me back to then break my heart again? So him and Powers are just going to a big struggle, and Batman just kind of shows up and is looking left and right, Freeze kind of has a point, to be fair. So let him punch him to death. It's fine.
Just let him have it out.
Yeah. However, Powers eventually gets the upper hand, and he basically bombards Freeze with radiation hot enough to be felt through the suit. So he hits him with enough radiation that Freeze can feel it, and he starts dying. And Terry's like, you're gonna die, you need to stop. And Freeze then just keeps fighting, because he's just like, I'm not letting you hurt anyone else, Derek Powers. You've just hurt me enough.
It's still kind of noble what he's doing now.
Yeah.
It's revenge, basically.
As the fight continues, Blight manages to get Batman down and is about to kill him when Mr. Freeze intervenes, and he hits Blight with a supercharged cold gun blast, sending him across the room. Batman manages to stop the explosion that's about to happen. The Blight destroyed all the monitors and the place is going to blow. But the room starts to collapse from all the weight of all the ice that was generated inside. Yeah. And Freeze has been horribly wounded with radiation, so he tells Batman to stay back from him, and then he says Batman wants to save him, but Mr. Freeze blocks him with a wall of ice, and he just says, leave me here to die. I've literally got nothing to live for. Just leave.
He's just done. He can't give any more.
And Terry's like, I can't leave. And Bruce is like, well, you can't make him go if he doesn't want to go. If he wants to stay there.
That's old Bruce, an older Bruce thing to say. It's clearly he's been in a situation like that, and he's like, you can't just force someone.
Like Terry's like, I can't give up. Like I gotta save him somehow. But he's like, but Bruce, I think he can see Freeze. I think he's just given up. Like he's not going to leave with you. And if you try to leave, he's going to just freeze you, and then you're both going to die. So like he
Bruce
doesn't want to
knows everything that's happened to Victor ever at this point. Like,
and he knows he's just done. And so Terry then has to leave without him. And the place just explodes and falls down on top of him, ultimately killing Freeze. And that's how Freeze dies in that universe. Is
mad.
Just a man who was given it, like, just basically heartbreak after heartbreak repeatedly. He
just never really got a fair shake, did he? Like,
no.
And like, he has done bad things. He has killed people. But like, he's not objectively the worst villain that Gotham has ever seen.
Yeah, and like the episode ends with Terry mourning the death of Freeze, and he basically says to Bruce, maybe you were right, maybe he wasn't a very nice man. Like, and then Bruce says, no, actually, I think you were right. I think he was a good man, but he was just given a bad hand. I think that was it. I don't think he's a bad person.
Like you said, it's very similar to like a Batman origin. It's just he went down a different path.
Yeah, and so in terms of powers and abilities, he's got a unique physiology, self-sustenance, decelerated aging, and toxic immunity. He's a genius-level intellect, which is great. He studied many areas of science, physics, chemistry, neurobiology, medicine, everything. He's basically a genius. He's cryogenics is like his main thing. Medical science, mechanical engineering. So according to Mr. Terrific, who we've covered, is the fifth smartest person in DC, apparently the technology created by Mr. Freeze is as technologically advanced as that of Apocalypse or Lex Luthor. So
that's insane.
Yeah, he's that smart.
So and he has that as well as all of the other powers.
Yeah. And his weaknesses obviously are vulnerability to heat and his suit. So if you hurt the suit, you hurt him.
But presumably that suit is very well like armored.
Oh yeah, like it takes a lot. Like it takes an absolute lot. But you could also kill him if you damage the suit. So Batman doesn't like to like damage it too much. You just damage it enough that he can still breathe.
To shut it down quite a bit. Like.
Yeah, and so that's my report on Mr. Freeze, Shaun. A character I feel like is just fucking great.
He's class. Like, he's so complex, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that you can totally see where he's coming from, which is the best way to do any villain in any story. I think like my favourite thing that Mr. Freeze was ever in, it's that fight in Arkham City.
Yes, where he keeps changing. Go on, explain to people who haven't played how it works.
So at this point in Arkham City, you have a whole mess of gadgets to use, and you kind of break into Mr. Freeze's lair. I think he's in the police building, and he's like set it up as a lab, and you have to like sneak around and fight him.
But he set it up in a lab. Just by the way, he set it up as a lab because in that storyline, Batman trusts him. And is like, can you make a cure for Joker to release a toxin? You can make a cure. And Mr. Freeze's like, I can, absolutely. And then you find out later on that Joker's kidnapped Nora, and it's like, and Joker's like, you better kill Batman or else I'm going to kill Nora. And that's the only reason he turns on Batman. And then there's a big fight scene that breaks out.
Yeah, and so in this fight, you use your gadget, but if you use, say, a Batarang, he then adapts to where Batarangs aren't a threat to him anymore.
Yeah, so like you have to hit him like 10 times, and like you hit him once with a Batarang, and then the next time you throw it, he just blocks it away. He freezes it. And he's just like, you're going to have to do a new tactic.
Yeah, if you sneak up from the grates, he freezes the grates, so you can't use them
If you
anymore.
drop from above, he freezes the ceiling, so you can't attach to it as well.
Yeah, so you're just like, you have to outthink him in this fight. It's really clever. It's a really good way of doing it.
And it's a really great way of showing the complexity of the character, that he's completely different from everyone else.
Yeah, because like you fight like Bane in that, and like you have a bit of a punch up, to be fair.
Yeah. Whereas with him, it's all smarts, and he's doing it not because he hates Batman. He's doing it because he's like, well, Joker has Nora.
Yeah, it's not because he hates Batman, it's because he loves Nora. That's why he's doing
exactly. And I just love Mr. Freeze as a character, and I thought it'd be nice to do him for Christmas, Shaun.
Because of snow and such, Connor.
And such.
No, that was a really good report, Connor. Would you like me to take us out?
Yeah, sure, why not?
thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Hero Zero. We will be back in about a week or so. So we're taking off next week, the week between Christmas and New Year's. And we will be back then starting the 2nd of January 2023 to have the regular weeks of shows going ahead. Big thank you to all of our patrons who have supported us over the year. We really, really appreciate it. You're all absolute legends. And if you want to head over to the Patreon, we did review Muppets Christmas Carol, a bit of festive listening for everyone there. The merch store is linked below, heroesforhire.ie/shop. Twitter is at heroesforhirepod, the 4 is the number 4. Facebook is Detective Divilment's discussion group. Instagram is Heroes for Hire podcast. And the best way to ever help the show is to tell one human being that we exist.
Just a one, please.
And I think that's about it, Conor.
So I've been Conor Lorraine.
I've been Shaun I.
We shall see you all next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.